So hello everybody and welcome back to the Trade Squad. We are really excited today because we've got some great topics for you. But first, say hi to Leah and Audrey, my co-hosts for the Trade Squad.
Hi.
And we have an extra special guest, and that is Despina. Hi Despina, how are you doing? I think you're calling in from Berlin today.
Indeed. Hello, ladies. It's good to be here with you.
Awesome, awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself before we dive into the first topic?
Sure. So as you said, my name is Despina. I come from Cyprus, and I'm the joint CEO of TOTOTHEO Maritime, which is a group of companies in the maritime satellite communications segment, and also our more traditional business has to do with maritime services, like bridge selling and servicing bridge equipment for the ships. But also in the last few years, we started really concentrating on more advanced technologies and the digitalization of shipping. And at the same time, I'm president of Women's International Shipping and Trading Association, an organization for women in shipping, logistics, and trading. And we are in 50 countries right now with over 3,000 members around the world.
Wow, congratulations. That's so exciting. I mean, here at least with Let's Talk Supply Chain, women in supply chain is a huge topic because we feature a woman every single month, either on the podcast or the blog. And I know that it is a really dear thing for Leah and Audrey as well. Audrey, you're part of OWIT?
Yeah, I'm part of the Organization of Women in International Trade. So I sit on the international board, but OWIT has 20 or 21 chapters globally, including Kenya, across the US, and Lake Geneva. So it's a great organization for women looking to connect and build their businesses.
Yeah, so many amazing things happening for women in trade, in logistics, and supply chain, and we love it. All right, so let's get to the first topic. Audrey, I'm going to turn this over to you because we're going to talk about how to find the right 3PL partner. I think this is, with the emergence of e-commerce, finding the right 3PL partner comes down to customer experience, customer service, so I'm going to turn it over to you because I think it's a pretty big part of business these days.
Sure, and it's something I deal with every single day.
All the time.
All the time, that's my life. So just to kind of start off, you want to look at, as you mentioned, e-commerce. A lot of the businesses that are getting into e-commerce are small businesses, so they could small and even micro businesses. They're one-person businesses. They're 1 to 3 person businesses. And they've taken the time to kind of come up with their great idea and get everything set up. And sometimes the trade knowledge that they need or the experience in freight and customs just isn't there. So one of the first things you need to do is sit down and understand what you're looking for in a freight partner. Things like, where are you shipping your goods to? What are your routes? Are you looking at mostly domestic and you can use kind of courier services or trucking, or are you really going overseas? How much volume do you have? What are the goods that you're moving? If you have special delivery requirements, we see things in refrigerated goods in the kind of food and agricultural sector, temperature requirements and special packing requirements because you have fragile goods. Having an understanding of Incoterms, what the commitment that you've made with your seller, if you're, like a business like ours where we're kind of an in-between and kind of project manager for both, our shipper and our customer, we have to understand the Incoterms that we're using. And then has or not has, if it's hazardous, not hazardous, that's a key thing you want to bring up to your freight forwarder right off the bat. Do not surprise them with that at the end. It's an expensive surprise for you, so you don't want to do that. And so that's in terms of the information that you kind of have to put together first before you are even kind of interacting and reaching out to anyone. When you do you've got all your homework done, we do our due diligence. The next thing you want to do is ask people you know who are in the industry. See if you can get referrals. You know, here we look at freight, really at any of our vendors as long-term partners. We want to work with them together for a long time. We don't just want to do one transaction, have it go hit or miss, and then kind of move on to something else. We really want to think about building the business together. And the best way for us to do that is to use referrals from companies that we know, either our customers or people I know in the industry who've had great experiences with their freight forwarders. And then focus on, you know, building those relationships.
So not use Google?
Please don't use Google. Please don't use Google until you've gotten a referral or you've kind of found someone, and then you use Google to kind of back up the information that you've already found. But don't use Google. Go on Twitter and come and find me, and then I will help you.
Yes, start a conversation with Trey Audrey on Twitter, and she will, you know,
I will help you find a forwarder.
She will publicly vet your potential PL through hashtags and retweets.
Yeah, exactly.
Leah, No, Leah, I just wanted to ask you, because you're dealing with, you know, the small, medium-sized businesses in California. What are you seeing? Like, what are the challenges that they're having finding the right 3PL partner?
I think it's so hard when you're a really small business, like you described, because it's just so much work to tackle everything that you're managing. And there's a lot of excitement that you've got this overseas sale. So you just hit yes, we're shipping to you. And then later you panic, you know, in the way that Audrey described. And usually it's after a potential fiasco, or you discover how much it's really going to cost you to ship to that customer overseas. And that changes the dynamic. I think it's really useful that more and more we're seeing partners like DHL, FedEx, even US Postal Service has condensed packages to help these small companies make a smooth transition to that, you know, global customer base. And that helps to kind of ease the pain so that you get through that first experience, and then you can start to see, as you grow your customer base, okay, now I know what I need to talk to a 3PL partner about. I'm a little more aware. I understand that I need to do a little more planning. But yeah, it's a big risk that's not often considered in the first, you know, phase of small business sales.
Yeah. What about you, Despina? In your experience, and maybe with the Women's Association that you're a part of, are you finding that there's challenges with finding the right 3PL partner as like e-commerce is just growing exponentially?
Well, okay. We're mostly into the shipping industry, and as most of you probably know, the shipping industry is very slow in taking up any kind of new ways of doing business. So we're very far from utilizing notions like e-commerce, but we are progressing. Things are becoming more transparent. And what is a very big discussion right now from our side of the business is how we can better integrate shipping into the trade side of things and the logistics side of things, and us not being a separate industry, because we're really not. We're just a cog in the whole structure. So I think that is a very important factor that we need to look into, and how things are changing for our side of the business, let's say.
Yeah, absolutely, because there's an impact on every single part of the supply chain. I mean, finding the right 3PL partner is extremely important for customer experience and for business as a whole. But we have to remember that there are huge impacts coming from every single piece of that supply chain before it even gets into that 3PL partner.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so just to sort of wrap up a little bit and to sort of go through what Audrey said at the beginning. So Irina Roska did a Supply Chain Minute series about how to find the right 3PL partner. If you want to see that, that's on the SC Supply Chain TV on YouTube. But some of the things that she mentioned was understanding the potential partner for future investment in sites. So not just thinking about what you're doing today, but thinking about your future strategy and how that partner can grow with you, as well as the technology and itemizing costs. So when she was doing the series, she was looking for a 3PL partner in Atlanta. And she said that Atlanta is a great location because most of the population in the US is mid to East Coast. So the cost of shipping goes exponentially down. And that's a huge piece of the pie, right? When we look at Canada, I don't know about you, Audrey, but when I was selling distribution services in Canada, it was, really about setting up distribution in Toronto and Vancouver to be able to service the whole country, because just being based in Toronto, your supply chain costs are going to be drastically increased for the West Coast.
Yeah.
Right? So it just didn't make any sense to only have inventory in Toronto. The other one she said was to understand network optimization, demand, time in transit. So how long is it going to take to get to the customer?
Yeah.
So, and that's what you were talking, I think, as well about micro warehousing and taking a look at that strategy as well, right? Are you going to be closer to the customer with an inventory location in like a large inventory location in one location? Or are you going to be much better off spreading your inventory into the micro warehousing strategy, being closer to all of your customers so that you can, compete with that Amazon, if you're in an urban area, 1 hour delivery? I mean, I don't even know how that happens from a logistics person. That is just mind blowing. But anyways, kudos to Amazon. And then the last thing that she says most important is integration, right? So, and this makes sure that your go live plan is successful and that there's minimal touches to the physical order. Right? Because the more touches, and you know this, Audrey, being in logistics for as long as we have, the more touches we have, the more prone to mistakes that we're going to be, there's going to be. And that hurts marketing, sales, customer experience, and so much more. So I think, everything that Audrey said at the beginning, Leah, you make a lot of great points with, small to medium-sized businesses and being able to integrate with, some of the largers like DHL, FedEx. For a small company, I mean, they have, the flexibility in all different areas. So that I think that's a great point. And then to Despina's point, every single part of that supply chain is going to, get us to that 3PL partner. And how is that 3PL partner fitting in with the rest of that wheel, right? The rest of the cogs in the wheel and stuff like that. So I think that, go ahead.
Can I jump in with the last word on tech? Because I kind of skipped over it. And the thing for me with technology is we have to look at, for a company our size, obviously I'm in-house. I'm an in-house person. I deal with a lot of things, in-house. When, there are a number of technology offerings, not coming just from 3PL, but also coming directly from the carriers now. So the whole kind of environment has changed around tech and digitization and being able to have APIs connect to your existing tech and TMS. Like there's lots of acronyms, there's lots of stuff that goes around. Fundamentally, you've got to decide, there's a lot of options out there. You have to decide if you have someone in-house who can manage the bulk of what you're doing, or if you want to utilize these services to be able to outsource. That way you don't have to have a team of say 8 or 10 people in-house monitoring your shipments all of the time and managing the customer deliveries.
Mm-hmm.
You can really rely on a lot of these tech platforms to handle, just through, being such an efficient tool, being able to handle a lot of that. So that removes some of the need for that in-house expertise that some of the larger companies are better able to access.
Yeah,
so
and I'm going to jump in.
a factor. Yeah.
I'm going to jump in on that one too, because I think that that's an important role that the 3PL partner plays too. Because it shouldn't just be on you as the shipper to have all of those right tools.
Yeah.
It should be up to that 3PL partner that are looking at those platforms and saying, hey, how can I partner with this platform to better service my customer?
Yeah.
And I just want to throw that out there because I think that there's some dual responsibility here. And I think the shippers sometimes take on too much of that role, and the 3PL partners really need to be vetting these platforms and taking a look at that.
Yeah.
But if I can say something there, this is why it's so important to talk about the collaboration within the supply chain. And you talked before about the customers and the end customers, and this is something that the message doesn't really get through to us in the shipping industry so clearly, but it's very important for your side of the business. And I think that's where we need to start collaborating. And of course, technology was mentioned, and it's so important. As I said before, shipping is becoming more transparent, and this is in a great part because this is the request of the customer, of the end customer, of your customers. So there are startups now building solutions for shippers and cargo owners that make it easy to track and monitor ships and cargoes and companies. And this is putting much more information, and information is power, into the hands of transport buyers, which is changing the relationships we have in shipping. And of course, part of this is also being achieved by technology, and I'm in the maritime SATCOMs business, and we see that satellite service providers are adding more and more services to increase the ability of the ships to send and receive data, the connected ships as we call them, and for vessels and the ocean resources to be better monitored. So it's really a much bigger picture, and with technology today and with the demands of our customers, we really need to be looking at the bigger picture and how we can help each other. It shouldn't be a competition anymore, but it should, be a way of collaborating among us to deliver the best possible service.
Yeah, and that's a great way to end this, because you guys all know that collaboration is the future of business. I say it all the time in my show.